I now give the floor to Prosecutor Karim Khan.
Madam President, thank you so much for the opportunity of briefing the Security Council today, and I wish also to record my deep appreciation to the permanent representative of Libya, Ambassador Taha El-Sanani, for being present. Today is important because it's the first time that a prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has addressed this council from the soil of Libya. And it is also the first time the prosecutor of the ICC has been to Libya in a decade. And I'm really grateful for the support of UNSMIL, of the Special Representative of the Secretary General, Abdullahi Bathili, for his wonderful hospitality and support during this mission. My experiences over these last few days have reinforced something that has been clear for a while, that we need to do better, we need to be more relevant, and that justice can't be a value, it can't be an idea, it needs to be felt by the people of Libya. We have seen victims from all parts of Libya, from Benghazi, from Derna, from detention, victims of detention from Tajura or Murzuk or Tawera. And just 2 days ago, I went a couple of hours drive from Tripoli to a place called Tahuna, and there saw a miserable sight. Boxes, metal boxes, almost like a workstation. And in these boxes, we have accounts of people that were forced to enter backwards and were kept in absolutely appalling conditions. Conditions that by any metric amounted to calculated inhumanity. And from there I took the same road where some of these poor souls were executed to farms that became mass graves and to refuge tips, landfill sites in which bodies were thrown without ceremony. And I think it's only right to applaud the really courageous work of the Libyan forensic experts, because amongst that detritus, with that plastic, with every waste product known to mankind, along with dead dogs and dead goats that we saw, they had an extremely difficult technical task of clearing away mounds of rubbish to find these individuals that had been thrown in. As a result, it seems, of crimes within the court's jurisdiction, and 250 bodies have so far been recovered, and far fewer have been identified. And I emphasize to the Attorney General's Office, to the Minister of Justice, and to the Forensic Science Service that we are willing, as the office, to work as partners to provide further technical assistance and support to the forensic capacity in Libya. Although I must say I've been impressed with the effort and the focus of work they've done. But the task is so great, assistance is certainly needed. And from Tahuna landfill site, I went to another location and I spoke to victims, survivors. And around a table were a sample of heartbreak. There was one gentleman that spoke that had lost, I think, 24 members of his family. Another had lost 15. A mother gave a compelling account with the quiet dignity that is very often part of the Libyan character, that she had witnessed individuals break in, prize her sons from her, and she has not seen them again. And there was a father who, very simply and all the more powerfully for that, stated that he couldn't bear to live in his own home, because in that home his children were born. And the effect of that loss is something that means that home triggers trauma on a daily basis. This is the type of heartbreak, this is the type of suffering that survivors tell us. And this is why your referral of the Libya situation to the office and the work and the collective obligation to deliver on justice is not some abstract idea. It really matters a very great deal. There is fatigue in Libya. There is this sentiment that we've heard it all before. What is the international community doing? What are you at the ICC doing? We talk about justice, but we don't see it and we don't feel it. And one survivor said, we keep hearing about justice. We keep hearing about the ICC. Where are the results? We need these promises to be turned into reality. And I think those sentiments are absolutely fair. 2011 is a long time ago, and the types of suffering are expanding, and we need to make sure that we are seen to be relevant. And this message is not confined to Tahuna. I've heard similar messages from victims from all parts of Libya. The team has also been involved with investigations, and whether one is from Tripoli or Benghazi or Misrata or elsewhere, these stories resonate with ever greater force. Victims want the truth to emerge. They want their voices to be heard, and they want allegations to be juridically determined by independent and impartial judges. Now, I understand those frustrations, and I have a great deal of sympathy for them. And this is why, in my last report in April, I highlighted a new roadmap that hopefully would give greater results and greater transparency to our work. We can't allow a sentiment to become pervasive that impunity is inevitable. And in April, I talked about an increased resources to the Libya team. I talked about an increased field presence and a dynamic approach to investigations to ensure we had every chance of putting forward with a degree of transparency measurable objectives. And I'm pleased to report, as set out in the report that you have, that we've made good progress on implementing this new approach. And that is because, in large part, of the partnerships that we're seeking to build. For the first time since 2011, I can report a regular presence by the staff of my office in the region. In the last reporting period, I can announce that there's been 20 missions to 6 countries in which a variety of evidentiary material has been collected, whether it's satellites, whether it's witness statements, whether it's audio evidence, and also the promise of greater engagement has manifested itself in various ways, including in June, when the Deputy Prosecutor, Nazat Shamim Khan, came to Libya, met with government officials, but also met with civil society, both in The Hague and in Tunis and also elsewhere. In September, we joined a joint investigative team in relation to human trafficking. And I think that's a very important step, along with the wonderful work of Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, as well as Europol. And that partnership is not cosmetic. That partnership isn't simply to tick a box and say we're building partnerships. It has already managed to pay dividends, because only a couple of weeks ago, in October, that joint investigative team allowed very key individuals to be transferred from Ethiopia to the domestic courts of Italy and the Kingdom of the Netherlands to do with smuggling of people, allegations, of course, that encompass torture and slavery in general terms, can be determined now by domestic courts. And this shows a consistency to what I've said repeatedly, that in my view, the International Criminal Court is not an apex court, it is a hub. And we need to work together to make sure there is less space for impunity and greater efforts at accountability. I also put forward various benchmarks in April, including a bid to put forward accelerate action to have solid investigations and, where appropriate, based upon solid evidence, to submit applications for warrants. And I can today announce that further applications for warrants of arrest have been submitted to the independent judges of the ICC. Those are confidentially submitted. It is for the judges of the ICC to determine, so I can't speak in more terms and give any greater details. But there will be further applications that we will make because the victims want to see action and the evidence is available, and it's our challenge to make sure we have the resources, we prioritize the Libya situation to make sure we can vindicate the promise of the Security Council in Resolution 1970. And this approach represents, in my respectful view, a new paradigm for action by my office. This increased momentum that may be apparent in the report is not because of the activities of the office acting in isolation. Libya is a key stakeholder. We are in Libya. This country is owned by Libya. The overwhelming crimes are against Libyans. And this partnership that we're trying to refocus and build and foster is absolutely pivotal if we're to move things forward. Tomorrow, I will meet with civil society from different parts of Libya. Next week, Libyan civil society members are joining experts and civil society from around the world during a thematic roundtable that we'll hold in The Hague regarding crimes against and affecting children. And I think it's only right to underline the importance of partnership, and particularly, Madam President, the work of Mohammed Yunus Menfi, His Excellency, the President of the Presidential Council. Because without his leadership, without his direction and unclogging blocks, I wouldn't be here in Libya today giving this council briefing. Cooperation is not perfect. We've itemized areas of difficulty. I've had candid discussions with the authorities here in Libya. But collectively, I think with candor, we can move things forward. And during the last few days, the meetings I've had with the Office of the Attorney General, with the military prosecutor, with the Minister of Justice, have also focused on trying to build complementarity, the obligation to work better, so we can achieve, not for the sake of the reputation of the Office of the Prosecutor or for the obligations of Libya pursuant to the resolution, but for the people, for the men and the women and the children of Libya who deserve nothing less. I also met yesterday with those in the East, and I met also with the military prosecutor in Benghazi, and also Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar. And there I was crystal clear. I made it clear that we had received evidence and information regarding allegations that of crimes committed by LNA troops. I said that those would be and are being investigated. And I underlined a common principle that I'm refocusing the work of the office in Libya. We are trying to have a greater impact to make sure we can move forward with some purpose. And whether one is from the east or the west, whether one is in the north or from the south of Libya, whether one is a military commander or a civilian superior, there's an absolute prohibition on committing crimes within the jurisdiction of the court. And there's a fundamental obligation that's reverberated since Nuremberg, that military commanders or military superiors must prevent, must repress, and must punish crimes when they emerge. And there is absolute clarity on that point. And we expect, not as a favor, but pursuant to the plain terms of Security Council Resolution 1970, cooperation, so we can advance our mandate. Madam President, Excellencies, I think it's right at the end to return, if I may, to that poignant room in Tahuna with the victims sitting around a table. And there was one lady that spoke at the end. In fact, when many other ladies had left, she stayed right to the end, and really in a very moving way, with poise, but with the tears perhaps only a mother or only a parent can shed. She said, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, my I accept the will of God. My son has gone. I can accept that, but I just want to know what happened and where he is so I can bury him. And in that moment, what can one say to a mother? Not a place for glib sound bites or some kind of pithy response. I simply paused. And the only words that could emerge from my lips were the words of the Quran, the prayer that Muslims say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. That from God we come, and from God surely we shall return. This really shows what justice is about. It's really not about power. It's not about the powerful. It is about those that just want to have the very basics, to live in peace, and when they've suffered loss, to know what happened, and to have a modicum of justice because their loved ones' lives mattered like the world to them. So whilst there is a lack of belief in the delivery of justice, in the possibility of peace, I also emphasize that this is not mission impossible. If we are willing to forge new partnerships, if we're willing to look at new ways of working together, if we're willing to coalesce around human values, not just legal norms, but those legal norms emerge and spring from those human values, I do believe we can do much better in delivering justice for the people of Libya. And hopefully that will assist in a wider hope for sustainable peace in this very ancient and wonderful land. Thank you so much for the opportunity of giving this briefing to the Council.